right. Hello. I'm here today with Mrs. Jade Hwang, a seventh Dan. She is one of our own from ITF-USA. She's the head coach of Team USA. And a big thing here, first woman inducted into the Korean Martial Arts Hall of Fame. That's amazing.
Yeah, thank you.
Could you tell us a little more about that?
When I first received it, I didn't even realize it was for me. I just almost didn't even realize what it was. It was kind of came as sort of like a surprise or something. I just wasn't really expecting it. And so, it was really an honor to be acknowledged, just for my contributions and my time in martial arts. And the idea of being the first woman really kind of struck me because I thought, there's been many women, in martial arts before me, but there aren't a lot of women in leadership roles. There are not many. There are more recently, but this was also like in 2016 or something. So, this is almost 10 years ago now. So certainly back then there wasn't a lot of women in leadership roles, and certainly there's still massive underrepresentation of women. So I never really had thought about it that way because, you know, completely because in martial arts, there are women that, there's maybe perhaps less, but there are women. But until I was in more of a leadership role, I didn't really even take much into consideration that there wasn't a lot of other women there. So I really do, it kind of struck me and I thought, oh gosh, like I need to do a little bit, take this response as a responsibility of being a bit of a role model and give some visibility to women in martial arts because there just certainly hadn't been enough, clearly.
That's fantastic. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's great. Who or what inspired you to begin Taekwondo?
Well, I was born into a martial arts family. My father is a grandmaster in Taekwondo, and I was just essentially born into it. Um, I think it very much surprises people at times that I really did not like it. I was not very interested in martial arts. Like my parents, they made me. Like I'll just say it like that. Like they took me to class. Like they made me train. I cried a lot. I struggled. I started when I was very young, so I was probably 4 and 5. And again, in the early 1980s, there were kids, but the kids were in with the adults. So, I was like a 5-year-old little thing and I was kind of scared and it was a lot for me. I think I was fairly talented and had a natural inclination for martial arts, but I certainly didn't, it was not easy for me. It really was a character builder for me. And it absolutely kind of shaped who I am. Of course, here we are now. But at the time, it was really a challenge for me. So I wasn't somebody who was like begging to do martial arts, and I really loved it. Like I started as a kid, my parents kept me in it, and it wasn't until I was much older. I got my black belt when I was like probably around 11 years old. But then again, when you think about it, that I'd already been training like 6 or 7 years at that point. Now kids get black belts when they're like 8 or 9. How old were your kids when they got a black belt? Were they young?
Yeah, just we all just my husband and me and my two oldest just received them this past January. So we had all trained about 10 years or so
Oh,
before
nice.
we got it. So yeah, it was good.
Right. It takes time,
Yeah, yeah.
and I so that journey was very, it really shaped me and built me, and I learned, of course, the tenets, and like you just not just learned them in the classroom, but I'm really like actually going through those steps. So when I had became a black belt and then had the opportunity to try out for the US national team, then I really started to like find my own way in Taekwondo. And I loved being part of those teams. And that's when it started to be something that I really had I saw these as opportunities. Whereas up until then, it was like, okay, I just got to do this. So that like, because I have to, just like another thing I have to be doing. But when I got to that point and got to do the teams, then I was like, oh, wow, this is like, was really for me an opportunity to, make friends travel and go to tournaments and experience a whole lot of other things through Taekwondo. And that's where I kind of really found my love for it. And that's really what's kept me involved in Taekwondo, you know, 40 years later.
That's great. Yeah, I think it's such a hard place for the parent, if you have a kid who doesn't want to continue, but it's so good for them to push them through that, and show them that you can have times of not being motivated, but it's still good to go, and I can.
And for me, it was just simply like, it was hard. It was just like, oh, this is very hard. Like, I need to do knuckle push-ups. Are you kidding me? Like, okay, like this seems like a big challenge. And of course, it was a challenge. But then I got better and I got better. And of course, that boosts your confidence. And then I actually physically got better. But I worked for it. And I know that for me, it showed me that, like, look, if I can do this, you can do this. That you have much more ability to do this than I do. I just had really good opportunities as far as, like, training and coaches and things like that. But like other people have a lot more ability and skill and passion for really being able to do martial arts. Where for me, it was like, oh, this is Taekwondo is scary. Like it's hard and this is very, but it builds you up as a person too. So, but my parents knew that, I did not, and I'm very was very very grateful for them for knowing that.
Absolutely. So you sort of just touched upon this, but what is your top motivation to continue this as a lifestyle for you?
I really experienced firsthand the benefits of being a martial artist, of doing Taekwondo, of the discipline and the dedication and learning about really long-term goals and how long it really can take, and it does take, to earn steps along the way. I mean, it's not a short path to getting a black belt, earning a second degree, a third degree. Like these are all things that take years and years. So by the time I went to college or was getting a master's degree, I already had experience doing things that took 4 or 5 years. They take time. So it didn't seem like these big endeavors to me. I could manage that. Well, I've learned to really appreciate what Taekwondo and training gave me and the life that it developed helped me develop. I wouldn't be the same person without it. So I guess I understand that. And so now, part of it, my motivation to continue is to help give other people that pathway, to help other people build that confidence, to help other people achieve whatever their ultimate goals and dreams are, but through the experience of martial arts, through the knowledge and wisdom gained through martial arts and Taekwondo, right? So that I believe truly is a gift. Like it was absolutely a gift to me. And so I think that should continue to exist. And so I want to do my part to do that, and to, give back to something that gave so much to me. I want that experience to be there for other people, for the next generation of people who want that. So I take that as a pretty serious responsibility, but also it's a privilege. I think it's a privilege that I get to have that opportunity to work with, you know, all these people who are doing the team. For example, we have something like almost 50 almost 50 competitors and maybe another 15 to 20 coaches, umpires, and support people, not to mention families and parents that will all travel with us. I feel like that's an honor to be able to, that those people trust me enough to be able to bring this experience to them.
That's fantastic. Um, what factors are important in being a woman leader in Taekwondo?
Um, you know, it can be very difficult for a lot of reasons. Being a woman, also being, I would say, on the younger side as far as martial arts and leadership goes, it's not a young people's place. Of course, everything in Taekwondo is, there's a hierarchy and a factor. So I think people can at times really mistake my age and being, and I'm not going to say age, I'm not that young. I'm just, like there's a right? It's like I'm in my 40s. There's a lot of, mostly men who are more like in their 60s and 70s. So it's different. And there's also inherent respect earned by those people as well. But women are underrepresented at those levels. So I do want to make sure that I am using my platform to make sure that we are empowering women, to make sure that we are providing opportunities and support for young girls and women and exposing them to different pathways, whether that be through being a competitor or coaching opportunities or learning umpiring or seeing martial arts as a possible career path, as a school owner, a business owner. I'm not only, a martial artist, but I'm also an entrepreneur and a business owner. So maybe there are women, and because I wanted to use my skill set, a skill set that I had developed over the course of many, many, many years, I wanted to turn that into a business as well. And so I want to make sure that we are providing those pathways and representation to women and young girls because I know, again, how much I benefited from it. And if somebody wasn't there and didn't believe in me and, let me have some responsibilities, it might not have ever happened, right? It's like these things might never happen. And then the next person who might think maybe it's one of your daughters, right? And they think, I would love to be a martial artist, but like, I don't see anybody who looks like me as a martial artist. Like, it's important that people know, otherwise, the martial art will die too, right? It'll just simply disappear. So, and there are a lot more women, much more visible, athletes that you see, in martial arts and in Taekwondo. They're becoming a lot more visible than they were 20 years ago, right? So I want to be visible in a role so that people see that there are careers and like a lifestyle. It doesn't just have to end when you go off to college or you get a job. Like you can absolutely create a career and a life and a meaningful one that is very impactful for yourself and others this way. And as a mom, I'm also a mom, and not only to one though. So it's I might not have my hands as full, but he's still definitely a handful. I just you want your kids to see that whatever they want for themselves is absolutely possible. I'm not sure that I had that vision for myself because I just didn't think it existed. So I want to make sure that women and girls know that yes, you don't have to just quit. Like you are very talented. You love this, you love martial arts. Keep going. Like you can find a life there.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, as someone who started when I was an adult, it's been truly life changing. I mean, I was a quiet, stay-at-home mom that,
Absolutely.
sheltered.
Yeah,
And just, yeah, it's
absolutely, right? And it like
completely,
just changes you, like
yeah,
in the best ways.
absolutely.
It's still you are still you, but you are the best version of you, the version of you that's not afraid to be you
Right.
because you have so much confidence. I know that I'm so fortunate to me that like I had this gift because I think it allowed me to be the person I truly am. Just gave
Mhm.
me that confidence to be able to do it when I think otherwise I don't think I would have. It's hard.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I know that like I used to think like to be the best martial artist I could be, I should try to be as like my instructors as I can be, but it's not. It's about being more yourself. That makes you better.
Absolutely.
It's crazy. Yeah.
Absolutely. One of
Yeah.
the things I love about the term like martial arts is like I really think of it as an art.
Mhm.
And art has if you think of that in like a broad scale, everybody gets their own interpretation of these things, right? You don't, it's subjective. You get to have your own feeling and opinion and how you connect with it and what it means to you is different for everybody. And only you can experience that. And so your instructor and the people that you meet will have influence on that, but at the end of the day, it's very personal. And it's a very personal journey. Nobody else can put that work in for you. So that makes it a very personal and unique experience. And because there's so much uniformity, um, there's so much, I don't know, not pressure, but built-in uniformity. It kind of blurs, or maybe the opposite of blurs. It kind of makes it seem like, oh no, it has to be this certain strict way. But I've actually always tried to encourage people to just enjoy it. Don't be so nitpicky. We don't need to be so nitpicky.
Yeah.
We need to be more understanding of the part of this that is like a very personal experience and a personal expression of Taekwondo. Of course, there are guidelines and things that we need to be adhering to, and to preserve General Che's legacy and the tradition of the art. But there are parts of it that are just simply, you know, unique and personal, and we don't need to tear people down for that.
What women have you looked up to in your journey?
My mother is like probably one of the biggest, influences and, role models in my life. She did train, she trained in Taekwondo as well, but that wasn't it really, that wasn't really why. She is, and just this a very strong, independent, um, woman who really just goes for it, right? She just like always has like just whatever the opportunity is, like you got to take it. You're going to find a way. Like you're going to follow, the path that you want to go on, and nothing is going to stand in your way. It doesn't matter what it is. And that's just how I was raised. And it was a very no, I lived in, it was a very no excuses family, but in the way that was like, we're not going to make excuses for why we can't achieve the big things we want to achieve. We're going to make sure that we find a way. It doesn't matter what your circumstances are. If you, not even just work hard, but if you just really keep going and uh, don't take no for an answer type of thing, like you will find a way. We will find a way. There was always that sense of like, we will figure this out. And so, and like I said, my mom was not the martial artist of the family, but she really was the role model and the influence. And she supported me doing Taekwondo and wanted me to keep doing it because she knew all of these things were so important. And there were some, in martial arts, there were some, like I did have like a couple of, female instructors over the years. But again, there always got to a point where they just sort of disappeared. Like there's a few women in Taekwondo now, that like Katya Solvi, that, for example, that people know, but Katya is more like my same age. We competed in the world championships together, back then. So I wasn't looking up to her or anybody like that because those people are more like my peers at that time. We were figuring those things out together. You didn't know a lot of people because there was no social media. There wasn't like videos. It was just, that wasn't how it was. Like I said, I'm definitely lucky to come from a family of strong women. And, my sister, again, she also did martial arts and did Taekwondo and was on a US team. I kind of saw like, okay, this is what, if you want to like make it as a woman, this is going to be like what the path you're going to want to try to go here. You're going to need to have some confidence. You're going to need to be able to like put your neck out there once in a while. You're going to need to be able to, have a bit of a thick skin and not let stuff get to you because there will be a lot to get to you. So, yeah, I think I was lucky to have some strong female role models to look up to and say, oh, okay, like we got this.
It's a great foundation to leap off of. That's nice. In your kickboxing school, you seem to have a lot of women. Do you find that having more women leaders in your school is what tends to encourage more women, or as opposed to just a male-led school?
Um, Truthfully, it's actually more the format of the programming. So my studio is like fitness based. It's like fitness kickboxing, but we bring in a lot of our Taekwondo and martial arts background to it. So that's how we kind of separate it from just a traditional, you know, fitness kickboxing program. We bring in a lot of, combinations and footwork and, agility training, things that we do, training as athletes, and introduce those things into our kickboxing studio. But the format of it, is definitely different than martial arts. It doesn't have, it is, music and a lot of, hooting and hollering, and it's that type of an environment, which is very different, of course, than a taekwondo school. I think more of a, I'll say, a welcoming environment for women, because it doesn't require the commitment long term that taekwondo does. If you're going to start doing a martial art, um, typically your goal is get a black belt, right? That's why you start. You don't start and be like, oh, I want to get to blue belt and then I'm going to quit. Like, you start, I assume most people start with the intention of getting a black belt. That's essentially the only goal you really probably know. But I don't think people go and say, oh, like, I think I'd like to train for about 2 years, get a green belt, and then, quit. That'll be good. Like, that's not how it goes. But statistically, they say like maybe 2% of people actually, get a black belt. So we know then that this is a very difficult task. Your family may have skewed the numbers a bit. Like, okay, you guys went like what, 5 for 5 or something on this so far. So, you may have like skewed those numbers a bit. For the most part, though, that's a very hard to achieve goal. And people know it. People know it when they start. So some people aren't even going to try. The programming that we have, it allows people to get some of those benefits of martial arts, whether they're like physical benefits. Of course, it's like an amazing workout. You're getting kick and punch, you're building your flexibility and your core strength and muscle tone, like all those things. So you get to do all of that. But you're not committing to feeling totally out of place doing something, starting a fitness program or a martial arts journey, when you're 30 years old and you're think, oh, I'm going to go into a class and I may be in there with kids. I'm going to have to wear a uniform. I don't even understand that. That's a really hard step to take just out of the blue. How long did your kids take Taekwondo before you started training?
It was about 2 years. So,
2 years.
right,
So if you didn't have kids in martial arts, that would be like what, 20 years to never?
right, absolutely.
Like, you sat and watched this for 2 years, then you thought, I can give this a go, right? So I I knew that for me, if I was, let's say I didn't have parents that made me do it, and then I got into this place, yeah, I could probably really love this and get so much out of it. I would have this community, like, your Taekwondo family is like a thing. That's a thing in every Taekwondo school. Well, you just miss out on that altogether if you don't start when you're a kid, or you have to wait 2 years to never to get convinced to try it. So it's very different. A very different setup. It's a little bit more, people come in thinking, oh, I'll just try a class. And then they think, well, maybe I'll do it for a month. Maybe I'll do it. Then that month turns into 2 months. Have that type of a studio rather than a traditional Taekwondo school, is because I really did want to have the opportunity to work with more women, and and give them the exposure to martial arts and the ability to learn from that without having to cross all of those barriers to entry a traditional martial arts taekwondo program has. Education, people don't know about it, or they do and they just don't think it's for them. Yeah, it's by design on my end, that we have it that way. I want people to get that benefit. So it's a compromise.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah, I like that. That's smart on your part.
We don't teach it to them like, oh, you're going to be good at taekwondo, or you're a real martial artist, a true martial artist now. Like, they don't have that disillusion, but we make them feel like that. We make them feel like they could. So like, if that's something they want to go do, great, go do that. Like, we'll help you all the way on that one. But it could be anything. It could be any other thing. Now you have the confidence, the strength, the discipline, all that stuff to go do it. And that's the goal, not to get a black belt, because the success rate on getting the black belt is like pretty low, but the success rate on benefits gained is very high.
Oh, well, that's fantastic. Yeah. What would you say to other females who are considering starting or are just in a phase where maybe they are considering stopping? So like how would you encourage them?
I really think people need to think about where they are in that journey, right? So over the summer, I went to the Taylor Swift Eras Tour in Europe. While we were there, we ran into two other women who were Americans from the East Coast. So they're from Delaware, I believe. And they were also at the concert. And we got talking, we kind of became friends with them. And the one woman had a daughter who was in martial arts. She was in Taekwondo. And I believe she was nearly getting her black belt, like about to get her black belt. And she was a high school student, but she was wanting to quit. And what I told her was to the mom, I said, encourage her to stay in it, like really keep her in it. Figure out what about it is not, working for her right now. Is it the time commitment? Is it she just doesn't want to? Is it a loss of interest? But like really try to like support her interest in it and keep her in it at least till she gets that black belt and really at least until she graduates from high school. But she's going to need this and she will, you may not know it, but it would be a mistake to let her quit now. Just like you've come this far, keep her in it. And I talked to her about it and just the benefits and the safety aspect of it and just all those things and how much of a gift it really all was to me, especially at that time in my life. She wrote to me a couple of months or so after the concert. She sent me a message and just said, "Hey, I wanted to let you know we kept our daughter in it. My husband started training with her. She's doing great. Thank you so much. I'm so happy she's, still doing it." I was so happy to hear that because as much as maybe there were times that I wanted to quit, I'm so happy now that I didn't. Later, I can make that choice. I can make that choice for myself down the road. But in high school and that age, like you're making it so far. Once you get to be a black belt, you're a black belt always. Nobody's taking that away from you. You've earned that. It's like a diploma, right? It's a degree. And that comes with something that means something, or it should. If it doesn't, you're doing it wrong for sure. If you quit at a blue belt or a red belt, you're gonna always say like, "Oh, I was almost a black belt. Oh, I trained for 3 years." Oh, when you try to go somewhere else and then you maybe want to start up again. Oh, well, what belt am I? Well, there's one color that everybody really understands clearly, and it's black belt. That already puts you in like a different category. If you're that close, if you've made it anywhere near close, you're within a year of getting your black belt, 18 months of getting your black belt, just get your black belt. Like, just get the black belt. You have to. You have to because you have to learn what it feels like to achieve something, even if that was that hard to do it. Support your kids through that. And as a person, if you started training and that's the goal you set for yourself, women, men, anybody, people, go for it. See what that does for you as a person, what opportunities that might lead you to, other benefits that you will have that you didn't even know existed because you never did it. You don't know what's on the other side of that. It could be everything, right? Like my whole life was on the other side of getting that black belt. If I quit when I was a blue belt or a red belt, my life would be completely different. Taekwondo brought me all around the world. I met my husband that way. Like I have a whole life that I've built just simply because I got to that point and then figured out, oh, okay. Here's some things. But if you are going to commit to being a black belt, you got to commit to it. I kind of also think you have to remake that commitment at certain points along the way. Like fourth degrees, seventh degrees. I think you need to recommit yourself. Am I really, when I became a master, I was like, okay, if I'm going to become a master, I better like do something. I better make sure I'm doing something. Otherwise, what are people calling me master for? Like, that's just embarrassing at that point. But it has to be the right time and it has to be really for you. Like, you have to do that for you. And I think that's important for people to know, just you got to do what feels like the right thing for you.
I agree with you very much on that. I really appreciate you coming on and supporting the women's committee. So thank you.
Congratulations.
Oh, thank you. Awesome. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.